One day we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dan Turbyville, and this is the Powerhouse Fence Show. As always, we have Ilaria sitting back here, pushing
Hi.
the buttons and twisting the knobs and things like that. So we were actually just trying to figure out how to still do this because we haven't figured it out yet. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. This will be the third, and I think at least for a while, last episode where we talk about the software that we use. Kind of getting a little bored with it. How about you?
I can see why it's useful, but we can definitely take a break and pick it up sometime next year.
Yeah, it's a little boring now, but yeah, it's definitely important. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We have links in the description of the show for the Garden State AFA chapter's Jackpot Trade Show. So that's up there in the Northeast. I think January 24th and 25th. We have a link to the Thornton Fence Consulting Group website or events in the description, and then we also have a link to the AFA Tech Summit. About a year ago, AFA did what they called a tech summit where they had 9 different softwares come on, and we all gave I don't know, 15-minute or so kind of demo of what our software does. And so you can go there, one place, check out 9 different videos of softwares that are available and kind of see what looks like it might be a right fit for you before you start scheduling demos. Most of those all operate within the fence world, right? So you're not going to see a demo on there from Microsoft or something like that, but you will see demos for some of the software companies in the fence world. So anyways, we are live. There's a phone number scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, 901-878-4987. If you want to call in, feel free. Dan Wheeler, Fence Industry Podcast with Dan Wheeler. Thanks for stopping by, sir. Good to see you. So, yeah, like I said, if you want to call in, you can. Thanks, everyone, for being here. If you have any suggestions for any topics or questions or anything else like that, then feel free to reach out. You can find us in various places on social medias, probably wherever you're watching or consuming this. And, of course, you can find all of these companies if you want. Speaking of companies, the show is sponsored by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, and the Thornton Fence Consulting Group. And so, yeah, there we go. We will be attending FenceTech 2025, Salt Lake City. It's at late February.
Booth 516.
516?
Yes, 516.
All right, there you go. Booth number 516. If you're going to be there, let us know. Also, I think I should have a free code for Simpalo that I can send the subscribers, maybe. I need to check into that and see if I need to send it out to people. But anyways, so we'll be at FenceTech for sure. The local AFA chapter, which is called the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association, has their Christmas dinner. It actually was postponed until January 18th due to, they had the weekend after Thanksgiving. I think like the Friday night or Saturday night or something after Thanksgiving. And that was just kind of difficult for people, right? We all had Thanksgiving stuff going on. And so they rescheduled it to January 18th. So if you're in the local Memphis area, come by. Come check out the Christmas in January dinner. I don't know what it's actually going to be called. So now, the Simpalo story of the week. Nothing exciting. Really, because the developers are still working on updates and stuff. We will have some new features that are supposed to be developed, tested, and deployed before FenceTech next year. So if you're a current subscriber, you'll be seeing some new stuff coming out. If you've been thinking about it, then might stop by, check it out, and see what the new features are. I'm pretty excited about a couple of things. I think it's going to be really cool. It's things that we need in there, and so we'll talk more about that as we get closer. I did a demo today for a fence company in Alaska.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Um, and so just hearing their stories about like, one, the wage rates that are on a lot of jobs in Alaska was pretty surprising, right? People installing fence apparently get paid pretty well in Alaska. But the trade-off of that is that like these people, they were loading material on barges. Okay. And the barge would be in the river and they would strike out on a 2 or 3 day journey up rivers and things like that, carrying material to get to the job site. So it was like in very remote places in Alaska and they're riding barges to get to it. And so if you forgot a rail end at the shop or something like that, they would have to like hire those, I think he called them float planes, or I think of like bush planes, something like that, to fly material into their crews. And they would sleep in like a camper type trailer while they're out there on the job site. So it was, we talked for a while about just that kind of stuff. And I mean, we talked about AI, we talked about, how we think it's going to affect the fence industry in the future. We talked about his story. That's honestly one of the coolest things to me about doing this show and doing the software and getting to meet people and talk to people is, there's all kinds of really interesting stories out there in the world, and I got to hear some of them today. So that was neat. Um, so now for Tool Time today, it's not a, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of out of exciting tools, Ilaria. I don't know. But anyways, so today we're going to talk about a vibe board that I have hanging on the wall. And it's basically like a big smart touch screen kind of, or touch screen TV, maybe. Um, it has a stylus, and I mean, it serves the purpose of like a whiteboard, but it also has a bunch of apps built into it. So, like, I can have Teams meetings on it. It has, all of your email and OneDrive and all that kind of stuff is on there. So, it's pretty cool whenever you're in a meeting and you can just like start drawing on a set of plans and stuff right there on the board. And also, it's nice to be able to stand up and have a meeting. I don't have one of those like fancy sit stand desks. Man, I almost said sit stand dances. Um, I don't have one of those snazzy little sit and stand desk, so it is cool to go over to that thing and stand up whenever you're having a meeting with people in certain situations. So, um, it's a little bit laggy, right? And that's, I think, the thing that was kind of the most disappointing to me about it is it's like the doesn't have enough hardware in it, right? It's a little bit laggy sometimes, but overall, it's decent. So I definitely prefer it over the whiteboard that was hanging there before. So, uh, um, all right, that's that. So the Italian word with
Yes.
Ilaria. Which button? Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
The Italian word of the week is cheater, like a person who cheats on a test.
Traditore.
A predator?
No, traditore.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. You got a hard one.
A traditore.
Yeah, that was actually very good.
I can't roll my R's,
That's okay.
and it's really hard. Like Spanish class was super hard because I couldn't roll my R's. Italian is really hard. I need to practice.
Use ladies' word though. Good job.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
You're very welcome.
I couldn't do it again now because I already forgot, but
It's okay.
thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about software, but before we do, I have a couple things that I don't know. I just want to throw out here. One, I think on Tuesday this week, Monday, Tuesday, something like that, I get a call from a general contractor and he says, "Hey, can you help me out?" I was like, "All right, sure. What's going on?" He says, "Man, we got these parking blocks or wheel stops on this job and we need them installed. And we just basically need some manpower to come in here and get them installed." And so, we started talking about everything, how they're going to be installed, what kind of equipment they provided lifts and stuff like that for us. So give him a price. He agrees. And I mean, we like immediately got a contract. And so then, of course, we have to go through background checks and drug tests, and there's all this safety stuff. And We had to kind of jump through a bunch of hoops right there to pull it off and to get some people on it. Went out to the job site this morning, took a look at everything. And tomorrow morning, we're sending like 10 or 12 guys out there to start going and try to knock this thing out. Right. So I tell you this because that contractor, he knew that he could call me. And I don't know if he just knew that I was too dumb to tell him no, or if I was, pretty willing to do things or whatever the situation may be. But he knew he could call me and he knew that we would help him out. Right. And so fortunately we're able to get some things put together. And so we could be out there tomorrow. And so we're gonna start. It's supposed to rain, I think, start Saturday and rain for a few days here. So hopefully we're able to get it done in a timely fashion, and hopefully we're able to help them out. So, like I said, a lot of jumping through hoops. So shout out to our team here. Alyssa, Kenny, Randy, and everybody else who helped us to get all the paperwork done and get the guys scheduled to go out there and get the drug test done and all of that in time. So it took quite a few of us. It wasn't just a single person who did it. JC Gurry, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. So we have some signs ordered from JC Gurry, and I was looking at one of their Facebook posts. They'll they do these posts where it's like a bunch of signs at various stages of progress, or something along those lines. And so you get to see some that are still being printed, and like some that are made into signs and all that. And I keep looking through there trying to see if we see ours on there yet or not. And they're not there yet, but they're coming. I know I'm going to see them one day. All right. So one other thing that I want to kind of throw out before we get to the software is the reason for the Italian word of the week. So I went on a job site, and this was a fence job that we did not sell. And so kind of was in the area, just stopped by and started taking a look around. And I can remember the details and specs and stuff like that of the job. I have a decent memory of that type of stuff. This particular owner and like design team and stuff like that, we've done work for a few times. So that kind of helps me to remember too. I started looking around, and the job that was installed did not meet spec. So I got beat on the price, right? Which happens. I'm cool with that. Like, it's part of being in a competitive market. You get beat. And so start looking around and figure out, oh, well, they did this different. They did that different, and saved a significant amount of money by doing some of these things different. And I assume they installed the job and got paid for it, right? So that's one of the really aggravating things that we face, and we face that regularly. I was talking to man, I feel like I just realized I've said so many times. Sorry about that, everyone. I was talking to Kenny today about this, and he says, "Oh man," and he just kind of like gets fired up about it, right? And he starts going about how he'll go out and meet with somebody, and they design this whole fence installation to go on their property, and they have everything sorted out. And then he drives by 3 months later, and somebody else has installed it, and it's completely different. And it's a similar situation. There are cheaper ways and cheaper layouts and cheaper things, and it's frustrating because if you want to install it the cheaper way, that's fine. But I think it's fair to at least give everyone a shot at installing it the cheaper way, right? So for me on my job site, I didn't get to bid it the way that it was installed. That doesn't seem very, just doesn't seem right, right? So, or maybe they bid it the way that it was drawn, never said anything, went out there and installed it a different way, knowing that no one knew enough about fence to catch them, which also I think is wrong. So, if anyone has any suggestions or ideas or stories about anything that you might do in that situation, I'd definitely be open to hear that. So now we finally get to the software part. We've already covered QuickBooks, Monday, AutoCAD. We talked about our Microsoft stuff. We've been through some of the, I guess you could say, some of the heavy hitters, right? The big players that we use a lot. But I got a few more, and I want to just kind of pause a second right here, and I want to touch again on one piece of the Microsoft suite and that's Excel. Excel is an extremely powerful tool, and I hope that everybody out there knows that, right? I hope that you guys are using Excel or some there's an array of softwares that are very similar. Um, and so I hope that you're using something that's like that. But and I mean, just everything from like simple calculations all the way up to it creating you making forms in there, right? Making work orders that auto populate, purchase orders, things like that. In engineering school, we made topographical maps in Excel, which was pretty interesting. I had no idea you could do that, but it turns out you can. By using some of the charts and things like that that were in there, we're able to make topographical maps of entire sites just in normal Excel. It's a fascinating tool. It really does great things. And if you're still out there using a calculator, I would strongly suggest that you consider using some sort of Excel or, equivalent type of software. So just, I don't know how much I don't know how much time we spent on that last time. I don't know if I stressed the importance of Excel enough or not. And all the things that it can do. Um, we one time were trying to sell aluminum slide gates, right? So we manufacture custom built ornamental fence. That's what this MFC manufacturing is. And we were trying to sell aluminum slide gates to a big company that most of you would recognize. And they wanted prices on some gates. And so, man, we went to town and we built this Excel spreadsheet and it quoted, I don't know, something like 1,200 different sizes of gates in this one spreadsheet. And it was built in a way that it calculated the labor based on formulas that we put in there. If material costs changed, we could go in there and change the price, our cost per foot on a piece of square tube, and it would change every price on the whole sheet. So how many, let's say hypothetically, we didn't sell the gates to them, right? They didn't go with us or whatever you want to say. But hypothetically, how long would it have taken me with a calculator to sit there and quote 1,000 different gates, right? Like it would have taken an eternity. But, and I mean, building the spreadsheet took a while, right? But it was done once and it was done forever. And I never had to do it again. From that point moving forward, all I did was I went in, updated our cost. So our direct cost, our overhead, whatever that is, and it changed the price on everything. And so I never had to do those calculations again. That is what it can do for you, right? So, anyways, definitely suggest you checking that out. And so now we'll move along to some new software that we haven't talked about. We actually have talked about on the show, but it's been a long time ago. So, My Salesman. We don't use it as much as we used to, but we still do because we haven't done residential fence in a couple of years. That was kind of its primary use for us, but we still have a subscription. We still use it. We When we did residential fence, we would get, I mean, on a nice, when the weather was nice and it was spring or summer, something like that, we might get 40 or 50 calls a day for somebody wanting us to come out and quote fence at their house. And for a long time, we just started booking and we would book salespeople and we would wind up with these 6 or 8 week lead times on appointments. And salespeople were working 5 days a week. They were working maybe like half days on Saturday, every other Saturday, something like that. And I mean, it was just madness, right? And so what we were doing was we were turning away good customers because we had such a long lead time on the appointment. And so somebody who's ready to spend money on a fence right now, I don't know that they're going to wait 6 or 8 weeks for you to come out and give them a quote. And so I kind of decided that that wasn't a very good model, right? We needed to change something. We didn't need to tell people that they had to wait that long. Of course, when we got to winter, sorry, when we got to winter, the lead times would be shorter, right? Because there's not as much demand here for fence in the wintertime, but we still do run year round. So we implemented My Salesman and we reduced that lead time on our appointments down to something like a week or 2 weeks. And we also lengthened the time that we allowed for each call. And so we were able to spend more time with the customers, so provided a better sales experience for them. And we also were able to gather more information. So the sales folks were out there just running so ragged that they were making mistakes. They were missing things. And so by giving them a little bit more time to spend with each appointment, they were able to slow down a little bit, capture the information better, and move forward. So how did my salesman help us with that, right? So we had a person in our office, and every time there was a new residential lead that would come in, this person's job was to talk to that customer, potential customer, and give them what we called a virtual estimate, or a budget on before we scheduled an appointment to come out to their house. So it was a requirement for us. Every residential lead that came in, you had to go through this process. You had to have this virtual estimate or this budget before we would schedule an appointment. And so it would be something like, okay, where's the fence going in your yard? And, they say, oh, it's going around the backyard. It's going, down the left side of my house, whatever they tell you. And so, yeah, it's not perfect, right? You get in situations where there's trees, or you would always have the thing where it's a new neighborhood. It's not updated on the satellite images. There's a lot of things like that. There's possibilities out there where you can't use it, but the times that you can use it exceed the times where you cannot. So we would, I feel like we did a pretty good job of, drawing it out beforehand, doing this virtual estimate. And we would just give them the budget range that came out of there. And we'd say, okay, it looks like your fence is going to be between $5,000 and $6,500. How does that sound? And immediately they would either say, oh, wow, that's way more than I thought it was going to cost. Or, yeah, that's about what I expected. Or, yeah, I can see that. Or, they would either give a positive or a negative response. And so that response immediately let you know, yes, we're going to schedule an appointment with you. Or, maybe we're not the right fit for you. And so we did that. We still use it now a little bit in like the business to business commercial world or the ornamental world, but we don't use it nearly as much as we used to when we did residential, right? Because that was where just so many calls were coming in the door. So there were some people that just refused to do it. And we'd tell them, okay, if you don't want to do it, it's $150 and we'll come to your house without it. And if you proceed with this, the $150 will be deducted from your contract price. Maybe it was 100, maybe it was 150, somewhere around in there. But I think my salesman's like $175 a month, and I think it definitely saves you enough time and enough gas, and keeps those good leads from being turned away by how long it takes you to get to their house and all of that stuff. I think it's a good tool, right? I think there's situations where people might not want to use it, but I think it's a great tool. Sorry. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of just AI, right? So I use Chat GPT. There's other ones out there, obviously, aside from Chat GPT. I think it's pretty good. I've used it for a while. And I don't think that I've ever really got to where I actually understand what all it can do, which is interesting, right? I've used it for a bit, and I don't know what all can it do. Who knows? But I can tell you some of the things I've used it for. I've been in situations where I needed the answer to something, and historically, I would just go to Google or whatever search engine I was going to use, and I would start searching the internet and find some information eventually. And I've learned that if you ask Chat GPT, hey, can you help me out with this information I'm trying to find? Da 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 da. It'll give you the information you're looking for, and it will also give you resources or places that you can go look to gather more information. So instead of it, saying, oh, here, this is the answer to your question, I promise it's true, you can say, well, where can I go find this information? And like, it'll give you websites that have the information on it. So that was pretty cool. I think I kind of looked back through my history a second today, and I think some of the things were I was trying to figure out like the effect of um, how steel was affected by being heated and cooled over and over, right? So I kind of had an idea. I wasn't really sure. So I went on there and I started searching the internet for it. went through the scenario I just told you, asked it, and I said, okay, where can I find more information? It says here, go to this site, this site, this site. And I was able to go there and find like a more credible source, if you want to say that, to give me the information, and I got what I needed. One, I'm super curious about things, right? And some of the things are related, relevant to like the fence world or business or whatever. Some of the things are just completely off the wall and really have no relevance at all. So I ran across one of the chats that I had with it, and I was trying to basically do some research about the cost of living and the cost of housing and groceries and income and all of this stuff over the course of the past 100 years. And so it was able to provide me the information that I was looking for. I don't know. I didn't ask it for sources. Like I didn't go that deep into it with that, but it's pretty fun to just randomly ask it stuff too. We have Amanda from Contractor Accelerator here. Thanks for stopping by, Amanda. Obviously, Chat GPT can be used for creating text, right? Creating documents and all of this stuff. I think Zach and I talked about it one time when we used it to make an email to go to an insurance adjuster. And so what's really fun to me is I enjoy a good bit of sarcasm, right? I enjoy adding a little bit here and there into conversations, obviously when appropriate, and sometimes accidentally when it's not appropriate, but I try not to do that. So we had an insurance agent one time that asked us, they wanted some justification for the price of a repair or a replacement or something like that. And so went to Chat GPT and I was like, hey, can you write me a sarcastic response to this question from this insurance adjuster? And it went absolutely insane. I don't remember what all it was, but I mean, it was talking about unicorns and pixie dust and wizardry and all this other crazy stuff. It was wild. So it was very fun. It was definitely a good laugh for the people in the office whenever I went around reading it to everyone. But it can get pretty creative, I'll say. I've used it to create termination letters, right? Unfortunately, we do have to do that every once in a blue moon. I've used it for that. I've used it for congratulatory letters. For
Where's mine?
You haven't got one yet. Keep working.
Sounds good.
I've used it for making job offers. You may have gotten one of those. I've used it for job descriptions. I've played around a decent bit with like creating a company vision, a mission statement, things like that in there. And I mean, the list of that just goes on, right? I figured out, I don't remember what I was doing, but been within the last week or two, and I noticed that it'll actually create you documents now. And so I was going back and forth with it about something, hey, can you edit this? Can you remove that? Add this, whatever. And then it says, oh, you like this? Would you like me to prepare or a Word document or something along those lines for you? And I was like, okay, sure, yeah. And it did. It made a Word document that I could just download, and there it was, instead of having to do the whole copy and paste thing and all that stuff that I'd done in the past. And so that was pretty cool. I didn't know it could do that. I don't know if it's something new or whatever, but I just happened to run across it the other day. I do want to try the X, Twitter, whatever. I think it's like Grok. I want to try it simply because it's here in Memphis. And I mean, I think some of the stuff that Elon Musk does is pretty cool, right? But yeah, I want to try it. Like I said, they did build it here in Memphis. I think it's like the biggest supercomputer in the world or something like that. And I know a lot of the people who need something to complain about and who like get all up in arms about environmental things, whatever that group of people was, there was a big thing here trying to save like a park at one point, or I don't even think it was a park. I think it was just like a grassy area. And so, people got all upset that they were talking about turning it into a parking lot or putting a parking garage on it or something. And you drive around and see all these signs in everybody's yards. It's like, hey, save this thing. And come to find out it was just a little area of grass. But anyways, people also got really mad about this computer being installed because it was going to use up all the water that we had, right? And so they thought that 6 months from now we would not have any water to drink or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I haven't done any research on that. I'm sure it uses water. Maybe I don't even know about that. But anyways, pretty interesting little tidbit there. So also with AI, the Tony Thornton, his team, Thornton Fence Consulting Group, they created a new fence GPT, and I've not played with it yet, but I think Tony has spent a decent bit of time working with. What
My
was that?
computer got a
What was that?
notification, like the
Oh,
big one.
oh, a big one.
Yeah, no, the big one. Not my small one.
Okay. So Tony spent a lot of time, I know, working with some developers and stuff like that, creating this thing. Like I said, I haven't played with it. I don't really know what all it can do, but if you're into that, check it out. It's fencegpt.com is the website. And I think there's a free trial that you can sign up for just to play around with it a little bit. And I definitely will do that whenever I get the time to do it. So I'm really excited, right? You see this? This is like me really excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the future of AI and what it can bring. I like to, I don't kind of nerd out on AI a little bit. It's really cool. It's really fun. Also, a little bit scary. For anyone who's watched any movies in like the last, I don't know, 30 years or whatever, like, there's that whole thing of the robots taking over the world and killing off all the humans and all that stuff that you see in movies all the time. But anyways, I'm pretty excited about the future of AI. And I mean, I think one day you can have like a really good system in place to where when a customer calls, you can have some sort of, AI computer that answers the phone and can have like a real conversation, not one that's real junky. And I think that we could set it up to where like the AI would be able to direct calls, and they would probably be tied into people's calendars and know who's available, maybe be tied into, the VoIP phone system and see who's on the phone and who's not, and could answer questions about the company, what it is we do, the products and services that we offer, and, maybe even talk budget numbers and stuff like that with the person that's calling. So, like I said, I'm pretty excited. I think the future is going to be pretty cool with AI. Might be a little scary. Who knows? But we'll find out one of these days. I need someone to talk so I can drink some coffee.
Um. Well, now that Dan is by himself, we're gonna do a small rebranding for season 3. So cool things are happening. So y'all wanna keep listening because it's gonna be fun.
We're rebranding?
Well, social media wise, we're not changing the logo.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm excited to see what's happening in
Maybe-
season 3. I'll definitely be here, Ilaria.
Perfect.
I'm going to
Thank
tune
God.
in to see what you guys do in season 3. All right. So there's another software that I like to use, and it's called Scribe. And Scribe it's not a huge part of our business, right? It doesn't do accounting for us. It doesn't run all of our jobs through it. It doesn't do any of this crazy stuff, but it is actually pretty cool. So I think you can get a free version that gives you like a Google Chrome plugin, and then the paid one actually works across your entire computer. But it like somehow tracks every time you click your mouse or type on your keyboard. And so if you click on a button, right? If you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and you had it turned on and you click that like button, then it would take a screenshot and it would put like a little orange circle, orb looking kind of thing over the like button. And so you go through and you do some task, right? That you're doing on your computer, and it's taking screenshots, it's recording what you type in all the fields, it's doing all of this stuff. And then when you tell it to stop, it opens up their website, and once it opens the website, it gives you this long list of all the screenshots and everything that you typed and all that. And you kind of go through there and refine it a little bit. So you might, adjust some of the screenshots. Normally, what I wind up doing is deleting a bunch of stuff because something happened in the middle of it and I went to my email or I had to reply to a text message or, something happened and it's like several things mixed in there that are irrelevant. So I normally wind up having to do a little bit of that. And then I'll go through, and a lot of times, like when you got to change the text that's on it, right? Because it'll be like, oh, click on something cell, and like it's the wrong name of the cell, or like if you're filling out a form and it kind of just puts that like light gray where it says name, right? It'll like when you click on it, it'll try to do something smart, but you do have to refine it a little bit. But anyways, it gives you a list and it has screenshots of every step that you took, and you're able to go through there pretty quickly and create a document that you can then export. So you can export a PDF and give it out to your team. Right. So it's a really good and easy way to teach people how to do things. I There's several documents on Simpolo that walk you through how to do certain tasks there, and so I've made videos of it, but I also decided to make this little like guide document, if you will, because I know people like to consume things different ways. Some people can watch a video and pick it up. Some people need like a step by step guide that they can have open side by side with them when they're doing it. And so I try to provide both things for people. Also, I use it here. And so I started with the free version, and that worked fine on Simpolo because it was in my Chrome a Chrome plugin, and that's where I was running Simpolo. But then I started using it for QuickBooks and for other things like that. And so for that, I had to have the paid version. But anyways, pretty cool feature, and I mean, pretty cool tool. And I don't remember how much it costs, but I think it's relatively inexpensive to use it, and it's pretty decent. We use Trainual. I didn't even put that on my list here, but we do use Trainual, and we have our what's that thing called? Our policy manual and stuff like that is uploaded in Trainual, so people have access to it. But also, when we get someone new during the like step one of the onboarding process is to give them access to Trainual and assign them some task and courses or whatever you want to say, and so people can go through there and it's kind of like taking an online class, right? But it's organized and it's created by Memphis Fence Company. The cool thing about it is you can see people's progress, right? So that's where it kind of gives you a benefit over just putting all of this in a Word document or PDF or whatever type of document and giving it to them. You can kind of track their progress, right? And you can put videos in it and you can put text in it and you can go as far into that as you want to, but we have a lot of like our basic stuff in there. um, you know Answering the phone, how the phone system works. A lot of stuff in QuickBooks is in there, kind of a overview of the way that we operate and how our different divisions are set up and how we install Fence. And there's a lot of information about like the basics of components of Fence and things like that in there. So Trainual is another one. It's pretty cool. You can do most of that stuff without paying for anything, right? You can do it in a Word document or something like that. You just lose that. You lose the ability to put videos in it. You lose the ability to go through and watch people's progress and make sure that people are actually completing the things that you assign to them. But, might not be worth the cost of the subscription to a lot of people. All right. So next, we use Adobe. So the biggest thing that I use it for is editing PDFs. Acrobat has a lot of tools in it to edit PDFs that other things I've used do not have. I do like Mac, so I normally open all of my PDFs just in the built-in preview. It runs better when you open them in there than it does when you try to open them in Acrobat. So I open them with that. I'll look through them. If I have to edit them, a lot of times, if I'm doing something more than adding text or adding a signature, then I'll have to go back to Adobe and do that. Ilaria, you probably use more Adobe things than me, like Photoshop and Illustrator and some
Yes.
other stuff like that. And didn't you try to do like video editing in Adobe as well?
Yeah, with After Effects.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Like using Premiere Pro is a little easier. Well, because someone explained it to me. But once I was trying to like animate some things for like Memphis Spence, and you gotta use After Effects. So that's a challenge for sure. I'm taking a class.
Yeah. Is it on that Udemy site? Is that right?
Skillshare.
Skillshare?
Yeah.
So there's the Adobe has a lot of stuff out there, right? We all know PDFs like and Adobe Acrobat, but they do have a lot of other stuff out there for the creative world, like Photoshop, Illustrator, and the other things Ilaria was talking about. So now I just have a few honorary mentions, right? Is what I called them. And obviously, a lot of these softwares that we've talked about, there are other options, right? So QuickBooks, there's alternatives to QuickBooks. There's other accounting software out there, but we set out to talk about the things that we use. So here we are. So just like everything else, these two have some alternates, but these are the ones that we have. So Calendly is pretty cool. I use it to book a lot of stuff for Simpalo, right? Because it's all most of that's done through like Zoom, Teams, things like that. But I also use it to book interviews, right? So if I'm going to interview someone, then I'll send them the link to Calendly for job interviews and allow them to go on and schedule a time for their job interview. I use it for a lot of like, if we're going to have a Zoom meeting that's about a project or something like that, I might use it. I normally try to make it as easy as possible on the customer. And so I'm probably going to just say, okay, when are you available? And then stick it in my calendar manually. Right. But sometimes I send them the Calendly link and do it that way too. It's really easy. You don't have to go back and forth and say, "Oh, I have these time slots available. Oh, what time zone are you in? Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can, figure something out." You just click on the link and it's like, "Oh, this day at that time, sure." So it does account for time zones. You can set up different types of appointments. You can have paid appointments. So I have like a consulting type appointment that I set up on there that just charges an hourly rate to people. And so they put in all of their payment information and it works on there. So it does a lot of things. It's pretty cool. That payment thing is tied into Stripe. So I think you have to actually have something to process the credit card, maybe. I don't know. If you're interested, you can check it out, but it is a thing that's there. Obviously, we use Zoom and we use Teams and we do virtual calls like that. I mean, that's pretty standard these days, right? So I use Ring Central for the phone system for Simpalo. So this phone number that's scrolling down here on the bottom, 878-4987. Oh, sorry, 901-878-4987. That's the phone number for Simpalo, and it's ran through Ring Central, and it's okay. I don't know. There's not really, I've never tried another one. That's the first one that I got when I set up the number for Simpalo. I've never tried another one. There's nothing really about it that gets me super excited. It does its job. I have the phone interface both on my computer and on my phone. So I don't really know what else I could ask it to do. It doesn't, you can set up text messaging on there. Apparently the FCC changed some rule and made it really complicated. You have to like go through an application process to get text messages on a VoIP system, I guess now. But that is an option on there. I've never gone through with it. I probably should, but I haven't. I asked Ilaria if she was using Udemy earlier. I think
I use it. I'm so used. I'm taking one class on Udemy, which is like graphic design, and another one, and two more on Skillshare. One is about Procreate, and the other one is After Effects. But After Effects, I did like 3 minutes, and then I was like, I need to just do this. I can't do 3 classes.
Right. Yeah. So I signed up for 2 or 3 like video editing classes, maybe for Final Cut Pro or something like that. And it's pretty cheap, right?
yeah.
It was surprisingly cheap for me. And so I think they supposedly were on sale, and I think for all 3 classes it was like $45 maybe. So I don't know how good the classes are because I haven't done them yet. Surprise, surprise. But I did sign up for them. It's a pretty cool concept. Skillshare, I assume, works the same way. You just go on there. There's a bunch of classes. You pick one, you pay for it, and then you attend the class virtually, right? And it's all like recordings and stuff like that. So I assume similar to Trainual. Did you ever do anything in Trainual, Aloria?
No.
No. So I would imagine they're probably pretty similar. But anyways, there's an option. ScreenFlow, I like it. I was referred to ScreenFlow by someone who creates content. Oh, Jesse from Orange Impressions.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he suggested ScreenFlow. I really like it because it's super easy to go on there and make a video of my computer screen, which again, I've done a decent bit for Simpalo. I also do a decent bit for Memphis Fence, training type videos and things like that. You kind of just go in there and you tell it what you want to record. You want to record this screen, that screen. You can set the size of an area of your screen that you want to record. You choose the audio device. You can record your phone, your tablet, things like that at the same time. Once you're done recording, it just kind of dumps it all into a little video editing area, and you can chop it up and put it together and make something that's presentable if you want to spend enough time doing that. So again, ScreenFlow, pretty cool. Used it a decent bit. I have Final Cut Pro. I've used it some. It's complicated, right? And I just haven't spent enough time in there. I think I'd like to do it. I enjoy video editing, but it takes so much time. It's so if you've never tried to legitimately edit a video and like trim it and cut it and put it together and keep your audio lined up right and all of that stuff, I would suggest you do it just to see what it's like. For me, it
Awful.
gave it's cool whenever you get to see the thing done, right? When you get to see progress that's happening and stuff, it's cool, but it does take a long time. And it was a little bit complicated for me to even try to figure out how to do it like at a very basic level. So it gives me a whole new respect and appreciation for all these people that are making these great commercials and different videos that you see floating around on the internet. Of course, a lot of folks just use what's some of these little AI things that do it for you.
I don't know, because I haven't found any that do a very good job. They
Oh.
all look very fake, and you're like, oh, that's definitely AI.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. So do you have some tools that you use that are simple?
I use CapCut when I'm editing reels for Memphis Fans.
Yeah.
So it has some effects that you can add. You can pick like what part of the video you want to add the effects on, and it's also what I use to add subtitles for our reels for both Simpalo and Simpalo and Powerhouse.
Yeah.
And
So
it's neat.
is it's a pretty user friendly?
Yes. And people can also upload their templates, and you can use it and just upload your own videos, but it already has some effects that you cannot find on CapCut unless you're using that template, which is nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how do you get the templates? You have to pay for them?
No,
or they're just out there?
Some yes, and there's also the pro version, which is what we have. So you have access to like more effects and also more templates, but they also have like a free version that is pretty neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, I think Final Cut Pro, you can make like really high quality videos and things like that with it. So that means that it's more complicated to use, right?
Yes, and same thing with like Premiere Pro or like After Effects.
Right. And so in those, you have one that you edit the video, right? Cut it up, splice it together, all of that stuff. And I know just a little bit about it, but if you want to add effects to the video, you have to go somewhere else and create the effect and then put it into your video. And it's like you got to bounce around between multiple places, and it gets pretty complicated. So I've used it a little bit. I haven't spent enough time, like I said. But anyways, so that's kind of my honorary mentions section. We got a few bonus mentions from Aloria for some stuff that she uses.
Yeah.
And what do you use some kind of software for posting stuff on social media, right?
Yes, I use Lonely. I would not recommend it. Personally, I wouldn't. There's better things out there, but it is useful.
We use StreamYard for this.
For now, yes.
For now. I I don't know. StreamYard's pretty easy, honestly. There's some things that I wish it did better, but I mean, it's pretty simple.
And it might be the right option for us just because we live stream according to Reddit and the experts on YouTube.
Yep. Yep. And so, what was the other one that I sent you? Riverside.
Riverside, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was talking to someone, and they mentioned Riverside, and I think they agreed that even there was things in Riverside that it would do better than StreamYard. But if you're going to live stream, they said StreamYard might be the best way. And this is indeed live, right? When we say it's live, we're obviously not lying about it, right? But so yeah, we use StreamYard for this. We're streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all simultaneously. We get all of the comments from the different places coming here all together. It can add like intro and outro videos and stuff like that that we don't have yet, but maybe one day. So, anyways, that's what I got. If anyone has any questions about any of that stuff, let us know. I'll be happy to talk to any of you and try to give you any information that I have. But like I said, I think we might move on to something else next week since I think we've pretty much covered everything that's important, right? So, all right. Well, everyone who tuned in, thanks for being there, and everyone who downloads this episode. If you, I was looking at our analytics the other day,
We're almost at 4,000 listeners.
and so I looked at YouTube, and I think something like 80% of the people that watch on YouTube are not subscribed. So if you're still here and you watch on YouTube, maybe just hit the subscribe button, and I don't know, it might make us feel better about ourselves or something. I don't know what it does, but anyways, yeah, give us some thumbs up, give us some subscribes, whatever's available, and we would appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.